Hi, welcome to EV World News, where we talk about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. I'm here today with our founder, Bill Moore. How's it going, Bill?
Es geht ganz gut, danke. Guten Morgen. I thought I'd do a little different.
Yeah, well, we start off with a little German. You just never know. Well, let's get to start off. I know this one was just, you put it up because it was kind of funny, but we're going to start with the earliest known EV charging station. I seem to talk a lot of people about charging stations. This is a
Yeah,
1912 photo of a woman charging her car. Let's see
electric
what we
car.
got
Yeah,
here. Um, if I'm not mistaken, the car is a Columbia Electric Victoria Phaeton, where Victoria Phaeton refers to the entire body design. It was used for horse-drawn carriages, and then early electric car makers like Fritschel, Columbia, and Baker adopted it too. According to a charming old Columbia brochure, it might have had a couple dozen battery cells powering it to a top speed of 15 miles per hour, atop 30-inch wheels fitted with 3-inch tires, had a 0 to 60 of never, and the drive, you know, this is just, it's a cute little vehicle, isn't it?
well,
You know
just to comment, you kind of chuckled at 15 miles an hour.
right.
The last time I read the average speed of driving through the city of London is 12 miles an hour.
Yeah, you'd be better off on a bicycle. Speaking
Yeah,
of which,
well, that's why a lot of people in London are riding bikes now. Yes,
I'm wondering, I see it looks like a bicycle sprocket here on the back wheel, and so
probably.
I'm wondering if they have a gear shifter, you know, in there. It has a hand, it comes with a handy step.
Right.
And, here on the back, oh, I guess that was where it would hook up. I guess if you were going to tow something, convenient for towing.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
It's the Chargers haven't changed much, have they? That kind of
No,
looks
they
like
really haven't.
what we could buy today. So,
No, it
but
really
you but
hasn't
you, but
changed
you
a
know
lot.
why they're showing that woman? Because the other alternatives in early 1900s was either steam or gasoline
Right.
engine. And so an electric, all you had to do was just plug it in, unplug it when you're ready to go somewhere, throw the switch, and you were off. The
You know, the fact,
steamer, the steamer, you had to wait at least an hour to get steam pressure up, or you had to figure out how to crank and turn over that gasoline engine, which usually was the job for the man.
yeah, I
So
can just see people crying about first world problems trying to find a charging station in 1912. It's like, what? You guys have electricity?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean that's I just thought that was pretty fascinating. It was
yeah.
pretty cool to see that. Anyways, let's see what we've
I've
got
always
here.
had this crazy idea that it would be fun to build replicas of some of those cars, like a
Mhm,
Detroit Electric or something, and just offer those are the cars that you would use to drive around town in. We have a
mhm.
low speed electric vehicle law here in the state, so we just build replicas, and that would be your second car.
Right. Yeah, there's no question that 15 was fast for the time. I mean, you think about it, they already had problem with horses and carriages running people over and killing people. So, yeah, I get
Or,
15 was
or,
pretty
the,
quick.
or the horse dying in the street from equine fever, things like
Yeah.
that.
Well, imagine driving that though on dirt roads with all the holes and stuff like that. You know? I mean, I'm sure a lot of those roads felt like you're just driving
Well,
over parking lot speed bumps.
there was actually a guy from Lincoln, Nebraska. I forget his name now, who actually drove from Lincoln to, I think he went to New York in that same time frame, right around 1910,
Mhm.
1912, and so on. And basically, he completed the journey in one of those on the dirt roads of the time, and made it. I think he made it all the way to New York City.
Wow. Yeah, it's pretty amazing to think about it. It's really, kind of fascinating to think of that time. But could you imagine at the time, it's like everybody didn't have electricity. I don't know when electricity really got to be real common, but there's still parts of this is one of the things about what's going on with like Russia and Ukraine. A lot of Russians still don't have electricity, and so,
Yeah.
and running water and things like that. And so it's
Well, the guy that drove from Lincoln to New York
mhm.
recharged. He made it from Lincoln up to Omaha, and OPPD at the time, what became OPPD, had their power station down in about somewhere around Sixth, Seventh, Eighth, and Dodge area. There was a
Mm.
power station down there, so that's where he went and charged up his car at the power station.
Oh man. All
So
right.
it
So
can be done.
yeah, we'll get through a quick one here. Now, this is kind of nice. Ford has taken a lot of abuse in the EV industry. They have the F-150 and the Mach-E, but they've gotten an EV win, and it appears that under the Inflation Reduction Act, there's been challenges getting vehicles to qualify for this.
Yeah,
And one of the things is looking at the new list of qualified vehicles, what used to be 43 models is now just 19 that qualify. I think a year ago it was only 12
yeah,
cars
and
that
I
qualified.
think I saw only 13, the list I saw. So
Well, maybe it's changed a little bit, but two F-150 Lightning models stayed on the $7,500 credit list. It's the
cool.
F-150 Lightning extended range battery for years 2022 to 24, and the F-150 standard range battery for the same years. These vehicles typically have prices ranging from $50 to $90,000. The base gas powered F-150 is a base price of 34,000. Yeah, good luck finding that. I saw a video the other day talking about how all trucks in general are way overpriced. And somebody was looking through dealerships. They went through Toyota, Ford, Chevy, and Ram in the Phoenix Scottsdale area. And I think about the cheapest four-wheel drive four-door pickup they could find was about $58,000.
Yeah,
And it was a base model Ram 1500. And even the Jeep um, Gladiator that is a truck was like $10,000 more expensive than that.
yeah,
And it's just really hard to fathom how expensive these trucks have gotten. So
yeah.
let's
My,
talk.
my, my very first pickup truck I bought in West Virginia, basically to haul wood for my wood stove.
Right.
And so I bought this thing used with a blown engine, and I found a replacement engine at a local scrap yard, and they would do the conversion for me. So they took out the old engine, and I think for the whole thing I spent less than $1,000. But this was a long time ago
Right. Yeah.
when a thousand
Yeah.
dollars is worth more than $1,000. So
Right. No, I get it. It is kind of crazy. And yes, Leonard, it's not many people probably had both a car and electricity. I mean, yeah, I think it was in the 30s that people in the United States started commonly having a vehicle in their family or in their household, you
oh,
know?
probably.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they existed before that, but it's just you know, it's tough kind of to, you
Yeah.
know, picture everybody having them in
So so
anyways.
the so the Ford Lightnings then qualified. Excellent.
Yeah,
I'm
a
I
couple of
posted this
models.
story, but I didn't read it. So
No, that's okay. I mean, it's been that's one of the confusion. But even still, if the vehicle doesn't qualify, if you do the commercial lease and you work it out that the dealer that's selling it, so it has to be through a dealer, and they have to agree to give you back the $7,500, it's eligible for a $7,500 commercial lease rebate as a commercial vehicle. And so that would be a pay down on the vehicle. The dealership still gets the $7,500. And it's that way, it was that way last year too. And so that was the way a lot of people worked around these things. So
yeah.
there's different ways to make that work on the rebates.
Yeah,
Now,
it'd be interesting. You mentioned you saw what we were 19 vehicles qualified this year, and I saw a figure 13. So
right. And I know that in 2023 it was only 12 vehicles.
yeah, but what's interesting is the art. I don't know if we'll probably mention it, but there's an article that Car Scoops has developed a database where they're showing there are 60 electric vehicles coming that will be available here in the U.S. 60 models,
Right,
which is just
right. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, it's
mind-boggling for
cars.
for us old guys that remember when we could count all the EVs available in America on one hand, models of EVs.
Yeah, now some of these are really, really rich. GM will start to maximize the potential of its Ultium tech, rolling out EVs as diverse as the $340,000 Cadillac Celestiq sedan.
Hand built, custom.
Wow.
Yeah,
And the more humble Chevy Blazer and Equinox. Acura and Honda will use the same Ultium tech to deliver
yeah,
the ZDX and Prologue. Jeep, Dodge, and Ram are also popping their North American EV cherries, and Volkswagen's Buzz finally makes it to the US in 2024, along with the ID7, which will go to battle with the refreshed Model 3 Highland.
yeah.
Let's see what we got here. Audi A6
It's
e-tron,
it's it's
Q6
phenomenal.
e-tron. Yeah, there's a whole bunch here. BMW, the I don't know who Bright Drop is, but they'll have the Zevo
That's
400.
that's General Motors van.
Oh,
Kind of like the
okay.
Rivian, kind of like the Rivian van. So
Yeah.
this right drop is General Motors commercial van.
Okay, got it. Okay. Buick Electra E5. Now, we talked about this one day before. Buick's been selling four models of EVs in China for a while. And so this will be Buick's first US, and it's nice looking. The Cadillac Optique, the Escalade IQ, I've reported on that one before. That's about a $150,000 vehicle, that Escalade IQ. Let
Yeah,
me see the Chevy Bolt EV and EUV, which those are, on the more affordable range,
yeah.
typically
What
around
yeah,
30,000.
that they're going to bring that back in 24. I thought it was going to be a little later than that, but
No, no, they say they'll have them out by the end of the year.
oh,
So,
okay, yeah,
yeah, the Equinox, Silverado, the Canoe pickup truck. Oh, that'll be interesting.
yeah.
Canoe's got
They
a
actually
distinctive
Canoe, yeah,
shape.
manufactured down in Oklahoma, and they've
Mhm.
delivered their first few vehicles off the assembly line to the state of Oklahoma.
Right. Yeah, and I know that, and of course they did some stuff with NASA too.
Yeah, and then they got the things from NASA. Yeah,
Yeah, Dodge has a four. It just says Dodge four-door EV. That's interesting. That's an ominous name, right? Um, the Dodge Charger EV. That'll be nice. That'll be a nice look. I bet that becomes a real popular car. I could see the Dodge Charger. It already has, some futuristic looks as it always has been, and so
yeah.
I could see it easily adopt to EVs. I like the. I've always liked the Charger. What's the other one? What's the other big Dodge?
Hornet,
No, I
no,
the two-door one.
two door.
I can't. All of a sudden, my mind's drawing a blank.
Yeah,
Yeah,
mine too.
like the Dukes of Hazzard style car.
Yeah,
I just can't think of what the name of it was. But anyways, yeah, I bet you see that Dodge Charger EV in police departments everywhere. I bet that's where they cater to that. Um, the Fiat 500e, Ford Mustang
I,
Mach-E Rally.
one of my favorite EVs. I
Well, look
speak
at.
with bias.
No, I understand. So Honda will have the Prologue. Hyundai, one, two, three, four, five different ones. That'd be
Yeah,
big. Jeep has the Recon and the Wagoneer. Kia has the EV5 and 9. Land Rover, they got a Range Rover Sport, just one new Lexus. Um, the one Lincoln Star. Lotus has a couple. Lucid Gravity, which is they're a highly anticipated SUV. Maserati's coming with one. I'm not even going to try to. I know how to pronounce Folgor. I'm not sure about Grecale, Grecal. I don't know. I could probably say it 100 times and
yeah.
never say it right. Several Mercedes. Mini comes out with 3 models. Polestar has a couple that are anticipated. Um, 3 and 4.
You know what's
Porsche,
missing?
what's that?
All the Chinese models.
Yeah, well,
What would that list look like if we added all of the Chinese models?
it would be another 100.
Probably.
Easy. Yeah,
I
it's really
actually heard someone doing an interview, and they made the comment that there are 200 EV manufacturers in China.
hmm,
Now, I don't know whether that's e-bikes and scooters and, electric buses and, little trucks and stuff like that. But the comment was made with some authority that there were 200 electric vehicle manufacturers in China.
but it's nuts to even think about that, and there's so many of them. You look at BYD is now becoming the dominant EV
Yeah.
maker in the world,
Yeah. 2
and
million. Was it
yeah,
2 million or 3 million?
it's a lot. I'm not
Yeah,
sure what that
it's a
number
lot.
was. Um, the Ram 1500 REV, I don't know what if that's I'm
Yeah,
assuming
that's
that's the
that
truck
hybrid.
okay, that's that truck we reported on previously.
Yeah.
Porsche's got a couple of ones. Obviously, we know Tesla has several. I was looking at Tesla sales numbers. The Model S and the Model X only make up something like 5 or 6% of all of Tesla's sales.
Oh
Everything
yeah,
else is
yeah, yeah.
threes and Ys.
Threes
It's
and
amazing.
Ys are the killers. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
VinFast with one, two, three models for the United States this year.
And they're going into bikes too now.
Oh, interesting. Well,
Yeah.
might as well. It's like we talked about before with bikes. It's not that there's not availability. It's more in that space of people just being willing, with
Oh
the,
yeah.
the
You have to commit.
disparities in the size of vehicles and safety and the fact we don't really have designated bicycle roads and and things like that, like a lot of European cities.
Well, a
Um,
few a few European
right.
communities.
I understand. I understand. And three Volvos. I mean, that was a lot of that
Yeah.
is a lot of vehicles because I think for 23, I think we discussed before, we were up to close to 40. Now we're
Yeah.
up to 60. Yeah,
60.
so it's really you know, it's really quick
Well, let's hope they
jump.
all sell. There, I saw one guy commentary about the fact that you can come up with these cars. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to sell them in profitable numbers. So we'll see. Well,
Right
among
now
that list, what was your favorite? Just glancing
of
through it.
man, you don't want to know. I'm really curious about the one I couldn't pronounce. Okay.
Oh, okay. The
Yeah.
Maserati.
Yeah. The only problem is they are so well known for having vehicles that don't run right, or that
Oh,
are they just they really you can really pick up bargains on those. Either they're like 5, 6 years old, you know,
right.
it's because they're just really expensive to
A, a,
repair.
a barn find without the barn.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta, you
It
know,
couldn't run, so he said, "Damn, I'm going to park it in the garage. Park it out in the garage, or park it in the barn." So
yeah,
yeah,
if you're considering buying a used Maserati, it'd be good if you're also happen to be a Maserati mechanic by trade.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, I've been through my experiences with a few, you know, lesser known or less common foreign manufacturers trying to get stuff repaired here in Omaha, you know.
yeah,
Yeah. So, anyways, here's one. Western anxiety about Chinese EVs could prove self-defeating. Now, we have a natural thing. I always call like Alibaba Chinese Craigslist. And, we kind of think that this is some weird thing you're buying off the internet for, you know, $10 and they're going to ship you an EV in a box and you're going to have to assemble it yourself and hope
right.
everything fits together. And it
And
doesn't
some
actually
guys
look
have
like
done
what you
that.
ordered. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it doesn't actually, when assembled, look like what you ordered you know kind of like some of the stuff with clothes where women will order clothes and it'll arrive and then it looks better on their dog because it won't fit on the human or something like
well,
that.
yeah. That being said, my wife is into doing miniatures, and so
Oh, okay.
she she did a miniature sewing room for my daughter who is into sewing, and
Mhm.
she found this miniature little sewing machine. And the only place she could get that was from China. And it took a long time to get here, but it was really nice. So I can't, always say that I'm going to, knock the quality. There are issues, certainly, without a
Sometimes, yeah, I get it. I get it. But one of the things, before you're going to see Chinese EVs selling in the United States, they're going to have to start manufacturing them in the United States. So they're
or
going to have to,
Mexico.
well, so I guess they could manufacture them in Mexico because of the free trade agreements,
Right.
and
Exactly.
yeah, and they are manufacturing
That's
some
the
stuff in
worry.
Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I guess that would be true. It has to be North American. Um, the and the other thing is the batteries would have to be made somewhere in North America from North American components.
Right.
So that
And if you're, you got Tesla located. Hey, my Fiat 500e was manufactured in Mexico, but then
oh,
a
it was.
lot of American cars now are manufactured in Mexico. So
Yeah. Um, Chinese companies have to own less than 25% of a battery parts
yeah.
producer to avoid disqualifying a vehicle, which is kind of interesting. Ford is pursuing some deal with Chinese battery giant CATL at a new plant in Michigan. Hmm.
Yeah, that's been an ongoing struggle.
Yeah.
The
Well, it makes
community is not all that's people in the community are not all excited. They've gotten sort of anti Chinese um, bias, which is understandable. There's some like the TikTok is spying on you, and Huawei, their
right.
software is spying on you, and so there's that concern. But then in China, the same concern is you drive a Tesla. Is my Tesla spying on me for Elon Musk and the American CIA?
Well,
So
probably. Probably. I don't know. I don't know if Musk would allow it. He's certainly a
well,
different
he
breed.
seems to be on fairly good terms with the president there, and
In China, you mean?
yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say Biden doesn't like him because they had that big EV conference, and they didn't invite
it didn't
Tesla, and they were
like yeah.
congratulating GM, and they're
I'd
just
like.
like,
I would
really?
really like to, know. Obviously, he has a team of advisors around him,
Hmm.
and so I'm sure they've sat down and said, "Well, what do we do? What do we know about Tesla, and what do we do about Elon Musk, and so on?" And there's probably guys saying, "Hey, we ought." I mean, he's doing great things for America, and we should recognize that. And then there's probably other guys who are saying, "Yeah, but he's anti-union, and here of late he's really gone off the deep end, and
And he's not
you know,
paying the right lobbyists.
so
Yeah.
but those are the kind of conversation I'd love to be privy to, But
You
then
you
they
just have
probably
to
have
wonder sometimes, when stuff makes absolutely no sense. It's the one thing. Our government is unusual in that we have a president who is supposedly, doing things in the best interest of the whole country, but then when your individual senators and congressmen are supposed to represent their state,
exactly.
and they're supposed to be
You
doing
got
what's
that
best for their
dichotomy.
state.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so a lot of times that's really hard to understand, and they're making all these weird deals to try to get something done for their state while somebody else wants something else done, either on a national level or something else. And sometimes I think that's just a really hard part of American politics to
well,
understand.
here's an example. Under the Biden administration, we have pumped more oil than at any other time in the history of the country.
Hmm.
The price of gasoline now at the pump nationally is where it was in 2020,
Hmm.
right? But at the same time, you've got environmentalists, who are concerned that God, we gotta stop putting all this CO2 in the air. We're only making things worse. So how do you balance between wanting to keep prices low and keeping that down for consumers at the same time trying to bring CO2 down. How do
Right.
you that's man, that's impossible. I don't, so
Well, the thing is, all the EVs in the world currently are only reducing gas consumption by 4%.
well,
And, but there's very small EV adoption. When we talk about EV adoption, we're talking generally about new sales, not all cars. And even Musk was saying if all sales switch to EV immediately, you'd still have 20 years
oh yeah,
minimum before almost all the gas cars are
you've
gone.
got nearly 2 billion gas powered vehicles in the world. And
Wow.
wow, we sold 7, 8 million electric cars. That's like nothing
Yeah, to the
compared
big,
to this
big
bulk.
number.
So
Right.
yeah, it will take, he's right. It'll take 20 years or more.
Yes.
Because look, how many people out there have, gasoline cars? My daughter, case in point, she drives a gasoline powered car, even though her dad is such an enthusiast for EVs. And she said, Dad, I just got done paying this thing off. It runs fine. I can't afford to go and sell it, and get something else. And how many other tens of millions of Americans are like that? It's going to take time. And the problem is that we're in a race against time,
Right. No, I understand that.
so,
All right. Well, we got one last article for today. We're going to talk about the new flow battery electric
oh,
car
yeah,
to be made in
this
the
is
United States.
cool.
This is nice looking. Is this what the car is supposed to look like?
That's what their prototype, uh, running on a flow cell, uh, flow battery, redux flow battery, technically, looks like. Although they've got the photograph I posted on the website shows it with the company livery and that kind of thing. Um, so the thing that fascinates me here is when I started hearing about flow batteries, what I was hearing, and seeing illustrations of were its industrial use. So you had these huge tanks. I mean, we're talking, hundreds, thousands of gallons, size tanks that made up this battery. And there's, of course, no friggin' way you're going to get that in a car. But this Swiss company, apparently, which now has operations in the US, has figured out how to take and compact that technology into the size of basically a standard sized gasoline tank.
Oh, okay.
And so this supposedly they've got the energy density of this thing up to 600 watts, uh, per kilogram, I think, or something of that nature. So here's this battery that's actually a cross between a battery and a fuel cell.
Hmm.
And so it can take and move power back, and you could I think technically, and again, I'm a little uncertain of all of this because I'm still trying to understand how the whole thing works. But basically, it works with the flow of metallic fluids back and forth through this battery.
Yeah, it
And
says
there
flow
is,
batteries. Yeah, I see an explanation here. Flow batteries work on the principle that two specialized fluids can generate electricity when they flow adjacent to each other, separated only by a thin membrane. The
yep,
liquids are stored in separate tanks until called into use. Compared to lithium ion, the advantage of flow batteries for electric car, non-toxicity, inflammability, longer range, and shorter fueling time.
yep,
However, that's not as simple as it may sound. They're not new. Earlier versions tended to be far too large to fit in a car due to their low energy density. Recent improvements in energy density have created an opening in the long duration energy storage market for stationary applications. Downsizing them for mobility has seemed far off in the future. Science loves a challenge. Research has been steadily chipping away at the energy density, and small scale flow batteries are appearing on the horizon for home energy. Now, here comes a nano flow cell with its new electric car.
yeah,
And they've tested one for 10,000 hours and 220,000 miles. The vehicle's flow battery showed no signs of damage to the membrane or the pumps, didn't seem to have suffered anywhere at all. The tanks holding the electrolyte fluid were stashed in the trunk. several years and some pandemic related delays later, the latest version of the Quantino electric car is ready to roll with tanks built into the body itself and a driving range of up to 2,000 kilometers, 1,200 miles on a single
Yeah.
fuel up.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. No kidding.
Um,
Wow.
yeah.
So
But when are you going to
this,
stop to go to the bathroom? You're not fueling or getting
yeah,
don't need
don't
to
have,
charge up.
you don't have to worry about it.
So this is not going to be charged in like an electric car. It's going to
Well,
have
I'm
more,
thinking this. What I'm still trying. I'm thinking that you got probably have two options. One option is there will be you will replace one of the liquids,
right.
right? So you can drive into a gas station, so to speak, and have that liquid that has been depleted of its electrons recycled and new fuel put in, which would be a liquid that's now rich in these electrons. You could do that, or you just simply plug it into the grid, and you can move through that redox process. You can move those electrons from one side back to the other side of the from the negative side over to back to the positive side. So I
Yeah,
think
I see.
that's how it works. Please,
Yeah,
readers or listeners, jump in there and let us know what you think about it. So
yeah, it's an interesting. They don't get real
no, they didn't. I had to
they
do a
don't get
little
real
additional
specific because I'm
research.
really curious, once again, if there would be because there's some kind of electrolyte solution it requires to charge it up, but it wouldn't take long to put a solution in
Right,
there as it would like
exactly. That's
to
what I'm saying.
charge a
So
car. Would that
possibly two options. Yeah.
Yeah, so that could be pretty cool, but it doesn't sound like it's going to have any trunk space. At least not in that little car. At least the cars they showed in the different pictures
Yeah, but
were
if
kind
it
of
but if
cool
it's an
looking.
electric car, you've got the frunk,
Yeah,
right?
right.
No,
Um,
I think I read that the company is actually now, with the latest version they're working on, has taken and integrated the fuel tanks into the body of the car. So think about that.
yeah, well, that's pretty cool in of itself. Anyways, Bill, that's all we had for today.
Oh, that's
Appreciate
plenty.
everybody watching, and please comment what you might like to see in the future, and please hit the like button because that helps more people to see our content.
Yep.
And